Hi there, so I'm going to go over this guide with you that I wrote that's on how to install and configure sonarr, radarr, and sabnzbd on freenas. And quick note, just a few things at the beginning of the guide. So the guide already assumes that you have a Windows share with your media and that the permissions are already configured properly on that. And also this guide, I'm using freenas 11.1-U5 in this guide, and that's where everything works properly. So everything may not work 100% if you're running a different version of freenas, but it should. You shouldn't have any problems regardless of what version you're using. And then also, in order to use these plugins, you're going to need to have a usenet provider account, and you're going to need to have indexers. And I'm not going to go over that because there's plenty of tutorials on stuff like that. And then there's also plenty of tutorials on setting up Windows shares with permissions and stuff like that. So those are kind of things that I'm not going to go over. I'm just going to basically stick with the guide that we've got right here. So to start off, before we start installing anything, we're going to go with the first step, and we need to set up a user and a group that we're going to have our jail and our plugins use in freenas. And so this is kind of just prep work. So we'll go ahead and do that first. So to do that, we're going to go into freenas, and we're going to go to account, and we'll start with the group right here. And you want to start with the group because if you start a user, it's going to need to be added to a group, and this user ID and group ID, they need to be the same. So we need to make sure that we add the group first. So we'll click add group right here. And in the guide, it says that we're going to be using 816. You can use any group name and group username and group ID and user ID that you want. You just need to make sure that they're the same. So your group name and username need to be the same, your group ID and user ID need to be the same, and then you need to make sure you're using that same thing throughout the whole process in order for everything to work correctly. So in the guide, we use 816. I already have 816 used on my system, so I'm not going to actually create the user, but all you would do is you just type 816 right here, and in the guide we're using new media, so you just type new media and don't mess with anything else, and you're just going to click OK, and that's going to go ahead and create your group. And then you'd see I have new media right here, 816 there at the top. Then you're going to go over to users, and you're going to do the same thing. You're going to click add user, and you do 816. Username would be new media, and right here you need to make sure that you have create a new primary group for the user. You make sure you uncheck that, because then it'll just create its own group, and then it's going to give you some arbitrary group ID, and you don't want that. You need them to be the same. So under primary group, then you're going to go and select new media. Not going to mess with anything else. It's going to require you to put full name, so I just put, let's see, you can just do user for media plugins or whatever you want to name it. It's basically just your description, and it'll show that in Windows. And then you're going to have to do your password too. Your password doesn't really matter. You're never going to use the password. You could just do 1234 or whatever you decide to do, and that's all you're going to do. So you'll select that. You don't need to mess with anything else down here. Go ahead and click OK. I'm not going to click OK because I've already got it made. And then right here, you should have new media pop up with the user ID of 816, and then your primary group ID should be the same as the user ID. So you need to make sure that that's right. So now we've got the user made, basically. So the group and the user. So we're going to scroll down here and see I've got pictures here for making the new user. So now we've got that made, we need to add this user to the share in Windows. And what this is going to do is this is going to give our services access to our media files, so that it'll be able to create folders and files, delete them, move them around, rename them, all that good stuff, so that way it can just be all automated. So I'm working remotely, so I'm gonna go ahead and log into my computer at home in order to do this, just so it kind of runs a little bit faster and looks a little bit better. So okay, so here we are. So now if you want to map well, you're going to want to map these as a drive, network drive on your computer. So in order to do that, all you're going to do is hit // up here in my computer, and you're going to type in the IP address of your freenas system. So you're going to click that and see I've got 2 shares created on here. One's media, one's data. So all you do is just right click media, and you need to click it as map network drive, and it's going to give you here, like I said, you should already have your permissions set up and mapped as a network drive, but that's just what you do if you want to do that, want to have it mapped as a network drive. So I already have it set up like that. So what we'll do is we'll go here to media, and we're going to right click on the drive, go to properties, and we'll go to security, and then see here now. So I've got the share, and on the share I don't really tweak permissions too much. All I've got is wheel and root. Those are your default ones. And then on mine, personally, I have everyone set up, to be able to have permissions to it. And then right here, see media plugin user, it's freenas / new media. So it's already added in there, but I'll show you what you need to do to make sure it's added and that your services get the proper permissions. So you're going to click advanced here, and then you're going to click add. You're going to go to select principal, and then click advanced. And right here, you can click find now and see it's checking the location for your server's IP address right there. And here it's going to pull up all the users that I can use right here. And right there, what you do is you press new media, select that. So that's the user that we created. Click OK. And see right there, it's got your IP address / new media. We're good. So click OK, and then right here what you're going to do is you're going to want to go ahead and check everything except for full control. So you want modify, read and execute, list folders contents, read, write, you want all that good stuff checked. And then you're going to hit OK and apply, and you'll hit apply right here once you're done, and then click OK, and you'll be good to go. And then your new media user should show up right there along with everything else. And so then we're done setting up our permissions, and we should be ready to move on to the next step. So now that we've got that done in Windows, we're going to scroll down a little bit more, and now we're going to go ahead and create our jail. So to add the jail, what we need to do is we're going to go here to jails, and see right here, media jail. That's what I've got mine named. That's where all of my plugins reside. But I'll go ahead and create a new jail to show you how it goes. And so in the guide, I believe I use the name test, so I'll just do the same thing here. I just type in test. You don't need to do anything else, don't need to go to advanced mode. You can just click OK, and your freenas system should go ahead and build you a jail. Alrighty, so now we've got that jail built. Okay, so now that we've got our jail added, let's go to the next portion of the step, and what we need to do is we need to add our storage to it, and this is going to be where we add everything that we just kind of altered the permissions for. So this has our movies, TV shows, all that good stuff inside of it. We need to make sure that the jail has access to that. So under test, what we'll do is we'll click add storage, and then our source, my data set personally, is going to be under mount, tank, and media. So that's where I keep all of my movies and TV shows, and that's my individual data set. And your destination, you're going to want to go in the jail. It's going to be mount, and then there's no media folder in there yet, so I just go ahead and type it in, media, and close there. So this is what it should look like. So your source should be mount, tank, media, and then destination should be mount, media, and then you'll want it to go ahead and create the directory for you. Now, if you already have a different file structure set up, that's fine. Just follow whatever you have set up, but this is how I have mine set up. So we'll go ahead and click OK. All right, there we go. Got the storage added successfully. Okay, so now that we've got that done, let's go on to the next step. And so now we're gonna have to go to the command line of the jail. And in order to do that, you can do it one of two ways. You can highlight your jail and go to shell right there, and this works okay. There's no problems with doing it in here. It's a little bit more difficult to copy and paste stuff, and if you lose your web browser or anything, you're going to lose where you are. So I personally prefer to SSH in. You can do it either way you prefer. If you're going to SSH in, just make sure that you load up your server's IP address. You're going to go ahead and open it, and you're going to log in. And then what you need to do is, I prefer to elevate to super user. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. It's just that's how I like to work. And so to get into the jail, you'll type in JLS. That's going to show us all of our jails right here, and then you're going to look at the jail numbers. So for test, we got number 14. So then you'll just type JEXIC 14, and there we go. Now we're inside the jail. See, so there's root at test. And so okay, so now let's go to the next step. So now what we need to do is, I'm not going to do this step because I already have all the directories, but if this is brand new and you're creating a new share, what you're going to want to do is, this is the file structure that I have set up right here. So you're going to have your downloads for sabnzbd. In your complete, you're going to want to have categories for movies and TV shows, and then for you're going to have incomplete, and then also where the movies and TV shows eventually get moved to, you're going to have media, videos, movies, TV shows. And so those directories are already made. If you don't have them, go ahead and run these commands, and so it'll go ahead and make those. If not, then, or if you already have that, then we're going to move on to the next step. So now what we need to do is we need to install all of our programs. So first we're going to do package install nano, and what nano is it's just a little text editor so that we can edit config files and do what we need to with that. So it's going to go ahead and get everything. Give it just a second. Anytime it asks you a question when you're installing, just go ahead and hit yes. Yes. All right, good. We're done with that one. Now we're going to move on to package install sonarr. And this one will take a little bit longer because there's a little more stuff to download and install. Alrighty, now got sonarr installed, so now we want to go to install radarr. This one will go faster because it is going to have a lot of the same stuff that sonarr required already installed, so this one goes pretty quick. Alright, all done. And now last one is install sabnzbd. So Alright, all done with that. So now what we need to do is we need to enable the plugins, and what these commands right here will do is they'll make it so that whenever your freenas system starts up, these services automatically start, and you know, we're just going to do that. And so I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste those commands in, so it takes care of it. And there we go. Now all of our services are enabled and running, and so let's move on to the next section. So this is where we're going to go ahead and enable the permissions that we did on the other end, that we added in freenas and in Windows, and we're just going to basically replicate those in the jail and enable those for each service. So this first command right here, what that's doing is that's creating our user new media. So we've got the name new media and the user ID 816, and so we'll just go ahead and run that, and there we go. Got that. And so now all this is going to do right here is it's going to stop the service. This is going to change the permissions for that service to the group and user new media. So and this is going to give the permissions to the right folders. So we'll go ahead and do that for sonarr. There we go. Do it for radarr. There we go. And we'll do it for sabnzbd. Alright, there we go. Everything went on without a hitch, no errors or anything, so we're good to go to move to the next step. So now what we need to do is we need to change the config file for sabnzbd, and this is where we're going to use that program that we installed in Nano earlier. And what this is going to do is we're going to make sure that we can access sabnzbd on any IP address. So the jail is our local host, and so we need to change that. So you're going to enter in that command, you're going to just hit the down arrow to scroll all the way down to where we're going to find host, and let's see. So here we go. See, under host we've got this this weird arbitrary IP address, and so that's the only IP address we'd be able to access sabnzbd on at the moment. And so what we'll do is we'll just enter in 0.0.0.0, and what that's going to do is that's going to make it so we can access on any IP, so our local host or our jail IP address. So then you'll hit Shift X, and you're going to save the changes, and we're to go. So now we are done doing everything in the command line, so you can just go ahead and exit out of here. And we're going to go ahead and move on to configuring them through the user interface. There's not really too much that you have to do here apart from your individual settings that you're going to want to tweak. And so I've got written here in the guide, so these are the different ports on where you're going to access these services. So remember how I told you we want to look at our jail IP address right here. It's going to be 192.168.1.2. So let's go ahead and go to sabnzbd first. So that's going to be 192.168.1.2, port 8080. Hit enter. Oh, I know what the problem is. Sorry. Forgot that in the step in the guide, we need to make sure that we stop and start sabnzbd after changing that config file. So that's my fault. So we need to do service sabnzbd one stop. There we go. And let's refresh. There we go. Good to go. All right. So, and like at the beginning of the guide, it's got this little startup wizard. Like I tell you, you know, you should already have a usenet server account, and so you're going to put in your information right here. I'm not going to type in any of my information. And then for what you need to type for that URL and username and password and like your port and all that stuff, that information can be found on whatever service you subscribe to, their website. So we're going to go ahead and go to sabnzbd, and we're going to go into the settings. Now this is the interface that they've got for sabnzbd. I personally, if I go under general, I prefer the plush gold interface. That's just my personal preference, but you can use whatever one you like. I just feel like it's a little bit easier to see what you're doing and know what you like. So see, this is what the plush gold one looks like. I just like it a little bit better. I feel like it looks a little bit cleaner. So alright, so let's keep following the guide. So first thing we need to do is we're going to set our temporary and completed download folder, and if you're following the same file structure that I have, see, it shows you those paths right here. And so we'll go to folders, and we're going to go to downloads incomplete, and so we'll go back up your file tree right here, and we're going to go to mount, media, downloads, sabnzbd, and incomplete right there. And so there we go, accept. And then for our complete, you can scan through it right here, or you can just, you know, copy and paste if you want to. Either way works just fine. Alright, so next what we need to do, we make sure that we change our categories right here. So this is going to put everything in the right folders, and it'll just make it so that our services for sonarr and radarr can see it just fine. So we'll go over here to categories. Let's see. Oh, forgot to save changes. There we go. I'm going to go over to our categories. I'll get rid of these two right here. And then see here, we got TV and movies. All we need to do is just, you know, there we go. For our TV, what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and select TV right there. It's already in the correct folder, and so right there, folder and path should just say TV, and same thing for movies. So there we go, TV and movies, and go ahead and save each one. Oh, got to save them individually. So click movie again, accept, save. All right, there we have our category set. Now what we're going to want to do is let's go under a couple of switches, and this will just make it so that things run a little bit smoother. So we want to make sure that abort jobs cannot be completed is checked. Action when RARs download, when encrypted RARs downloaded, abort, because it's not going to be able to do anything with that. It'll need a password, so it's just easier to have it abort those. And then extra part 2 parameters. So let's go to switches. Abort jobs that cannot be completed is already checked by default. It used to not be, but let's see, extra part 2 parameters right there. And let's see, action when encrypted RAR, we'll click abort. Save changes. Alright, and we should be good to go in sabnzbd now. So I'm going to leave that window open. So we're going to move on to sonarr and radarr. So I'm going to leave this open because we're going to need some information from right here. So let's go to sonarr. Alright, here we are. And we got a few errors right off the bat, but that's just because we haven't added anything. It's just showing that we don't have any indexers or any download client or anything like that. So we'll just go through this step by step. So under settings and indexers, that's where you'll want to go ahead and add your indexers, and I'm not going to be able to show you that because I'm not going to get any indexing sites, but here under indexers you can just add, and you're going to go under news nav right here, most likely, and you'll just click their presets, and they've got a whole bunch of different ones. So if you do like ncb.su, it's already even got the URL in there. All you need to do is just go to your account, add your API key, click test to make sure it works okay, and then add it, and you should be good to go. I recommend having like 2 or 3 of those just in case one goes down, so that everything can continue working okay without any hitches. So under download clients, we'll go to right here to configure sabnzbd. So right here, and it's already got the default local host and your port. I just go ahead and put sabnzbd as the name right there. And so what we're going to need is our API key. So you can just get that from sabnzbd right here under general. You go down to security, API key. So we'll just copy and paste that in. And if you have a username or password on sabnzbd, you can go ahead and put them in there. See, it's got the default category TV. Radarr is going to have movie, and you're just going to click test. And there you go, test succeeded. So we'll go ahead and save it. And that is pretty much it. You know, there might be some additional settings that you want to tweak and change. But you know, once you have this entered and your indexers, everything should work just fine. Now you'll do the exact same thing for radarr, and like I said before in the guide, the port for radarr is just 7878. So you get that right here. And radarr's interface is exactly the same as sonarr, and there you go. So it's pretty simple. I hope that this guide is helpful. If you have any problems, feel free to post on the forum. I'll try my best to keep track of it and try and help anyone who's having issues out. Thanks so much. If you have any suggestions for improvements on the guide, I'm open to that. You know, feel free to post those on the forum as well. And thanks a lot.